The galaxy had seen centuries of conflict, but the emergence of Earth's dreadnoughts shifted the balance of power. These massive warships, equipped with Eclipse drives harnessing dark energy, could turn planets into dust. Earth had built them as a deterrent, a means to ensure peace through overwhelming strength. But their very existence sparked fear and uncertainty across the stars. The Zix Ari, an ancient and advanced civilization, and the Thar, fierce and proud warriors, had been rivals for generations. Their skirmishes and territorial disputes were legendary, yet they had never faced a threat like Earth's dreadnoughts. It was not long before Varen, a respected Zix Ari diplomat, and Keldor, a prominent Thar leader, found themselves in urgent negotiations on a neutral space station. "Humanity's warships could obliterate us all," Varen stated, his voice resonating with a calm urgency. "We must put aside our differences." Keldor, ever the skeptic, replied with a hard edge, "Trust is not easily given, Varen. How do we know this isn't another ploy?" Back on Earth, Dr. Elena Ramirez, the lead scientist behind the Eclipse drive, faced her own moral dilemma. The drives had been a breakthrough, promising limitless energy, but their weaponization weighed heavily on her conscience. In the United Nations headquarters in New York, she argued passionately against their continued existence. "We've created something monstrous. We must control it or dismantle it," she implored world leaders. General Marcus Evans, a seasoned military strategist, understood the gravity of the situation. "The dreadnoughts were meant to protect us," he stated, "but we can't ignore the destabilizing effect they've had." Amidst growing concerns, Earth's leaders decided to initiate talks with the Zix Ari and Thar to address the issue. The historic summit took place on Luna, Earth's moon. The stark lunar landscape served as a fitting backdrop for the tense negotiations. Varen and Keldor, representing their respective worlds, met with Earth's delegation, including Dr. Ramirez and General Evans. The discussions were fraught with mistrust and anxiety. "We are here to find a solution that ensures the safety of all our worlds," Ambassador Liu began, seeking common ground. Keldor's skepticism remained evident. "You ask us to trust, yet you wield the greatest threat," he retorted, eyes blazing. Dr. Ramirez interjected, her voice calm but firm. "The Eclipse drives were a mistake. We can dismantle them, but we need cooperation." Days of intense negotiation followed. Varen and Keldor faced pressure from their own governments, where hardliners saw Earth's proposal as a sign of weakness. On Earth, similar factions viewed the talks as capitulation. Despite these hurdles, progress was made. They agreed on a phased dismantling of the dreadnoughts, coupled with shared technological oversight. As the summit drew to a close, a fragile consensus had been reached. The path ahead was uncertain, but there was hope. Dr. Ramirez felt a glimmer of optimism. "We've taken the first step," she said to Varen and Keldor. "Now we must ensure it's not our last." Returning to their respective worlds, the delegates knew the real work was just beginning. Trust had been tentatively established, but sustaining it would require unwavering commitment and cooperation. The fate of their civilizations hung in the balance, dependent on the delicate alliance they had forged. The phased dismantling of Earth's dreadnoughts was underway, but the process was slow and fraught with complications. Earth's engineers worked alongside Zix Ari and Thar scientists to deactivate the Eclipse drives safely. These joint efforts were meant to build trust, but the underlying tensions were palpable. On a crisp morning in New York, Dr. Elena Ramirez hosted Varen and Keldor at her research facility. The lab buzzed with activity as scientists from all three factions collaborated on neutralizing dark energy. "This is the key to our future," Ramirez explained, gesturing to a prototype device designed to repurpose dark energy for peaceful uses. Varen's eyes reflected cautious optimism. "If we can turn a weapon into a tool for progress, it will be a powerful symbol of our alliance." Meanwhile, General Marcus Evans coordinated joint military exercises aimed at fostering camaraderie and readiness against potential rogue elements. Soldiers from Earth, Zix Ari and Thar trained together in simulations designed to handle both external threats and internal dissent. "Unity in action breeds trust," Evans emphasized to his troops, and we must be ready for anything. Despite these efforts, not all were convinced. In hidden corners of their societies, dissenters plotted. On Thalnar, a fiery orator named Relak gathered a following. "Our leaders are selling our strength for false promises," he proclaimed to a room filled with discontented warriors. "We must take back our destiny." Back on Earth, the deactivation efforts hit a critical juncture. A particularly unstable dreadnought, the Sol Invictus, housed in a lunar dock, presented a formidable challenge. Dr. Ramirez, alongside Kethra, a brilliant Zix Ari engineer, and Lauren, a stoic Thalnar technician, worked tirelessly to disarm its Eclipse drive. The operation was nerve-wracking, each misstep potentially catastrophic. "Careful with the core matrix," Kethra advised, her multi-limbed dexterity a blur of precise movements. Lauren, monitoring the energy levels, nodded. "We're close," he said, his voice steady. The room fell silent as the final sequence was initiated. A collective sigh of relief swept through the team as the drive powered down safely. The successful deactivation of Sol Invictus was a significant milestone. It boosted morale and provided tangible evidence that cooperation could yield positive results. News of the success spread quickly, fostering cautious optimism among the skeptical. In the aftermath, Varen addressed a gathering of Zix Ari leaders. "We have seen what we can achieve together. The path is difficult, but it is the only way forward." Keldor, speaking to the Thalnar Council, echoed this sentiment. "Our strength lies in our unity. Divided, we fall." As the alliance strengthened, Earth, Zixar, and Thalnar began sharing more than just military and scientific resources. Cultural exchanges were initiated, and joint educational programs were established. These initiatives aimed to bridge the gap of understanding and foster a deeper sense of shared destiny. However, the Alliance faced its greatest test when a rogue faction attempted to sabotage a key deactivation site. The attack was swiftly countered by the newly formed Interstellar Task Force, but it underscored the persistent threat of dissent. Dr. Ramirez and her counterparts redoubled their efforts, knowing that vigilance and cooperation were their best defenses. The Alliance had taken root, but its survival depended on the continued dedication of its members. As Dr. Ramirez looked out at the night sky, dotted with the distant lights of alien worlds, she felt a renewed sense of purpose. The road ahead was long, but they were no longer walking it alone. The first steps toward a lasting peace had been taken, and there was no turning back. As the alliance between Earth, the Zix Ari, and the Thalnar solidified, the true challenge lay in maintaining this fragile unity. The immense power of the Dreadnoughts, with their fearsome Eclipse drives, was a constant reminder of the thin line between war and peace. Dr. Elena Ramirez, now a pivotal figure in both the scientific and diplomatic arenas, worked tirelessly to ensure the Eclipse drives could never be weaponized again. In the bustling corridors of the United Nations headquarters, Dr. Ramirez met with General Marcus Evans and Ambassador Liu. They were joined by Varen, the Zix Ari diplomat, and Keldor, the Thalnar representative. "The threat of these drives falling into the wrong hands is too great," Dr. Ramirez began. "We need to develop a comprehensive plan to dismantle them safely." General Evans, ever pragmatic, added, "Our intelligence suggests rogue factions within both the Zix Ari and Thalnar societies might try to seize these weapons. We must act quickly and decisively." Ambassador Liu nodded, emphasizing the importance of transparency and cooperation. "We should conduct joint inspections and deactivation missions to build trust and ensure compliance." As the deactivation plan was set into motion, teams comprising members from all three factions were dispatched to the various locations where the Dreadnoughts were housed. The process was intricate and dangerous, requiring a delicate balance of technical expertise and diplomatic finesse. Each team faced the dual challenge of disarming a potential weapon of mass destruction while navigating the deep-seated mistrust between their peoples. In one such mission, Dr. Ramirez found herself aboard a Thalnar dreadnought, working alongside Keldor and a team of engineers. The atmosphere was tense, each side wary of the other's intentions. "We have to approach this methodically," Keldor said, his voice steady but firm. Any mistake could be catastrophic. As they worked, Dr. Ramirez marveled at the Thalnar technology. The Eclipse drives, though terrifying in their potential for destruction, were also a testament to the incredible advancements achieved by their creators. It's a paradox, she mused aloud. Such beauty and danger intertwined. Keldor glanced at her, a hint of a smile breaking through his stoic demeanor. Indeed, it is why we must be vigilant. Our greatest strengths can also be our greatest vulnerabilities. Their efforts bore fruit as the first drive was successfully deactivated, a palpable sense of relief washing over the team. Similar successes were reported from other missions, but the threat was far from eliminated. As the deactivation continued, whispers of dissent grew louder. Factions within both the Zix Ari and Thalnar societies viewed the dismantling of the Dreadnoughts as a betrayal of their strength. Rylok, a charismatic and influential figure among the Thalnar, began to rally support against the Alliance's efforts. "We are being stripped of our power," he declared in a clandestine meeting. "This alliance makes us vulnerable." Back on Earth, Dr. Ramirez and General Evans were briefed on the growing unrest. "We need to address these fears directly," Ambassador Liu advised. "Open dialogue and reassurance are our best tools." A summit was convened, bringing together leaders from all three factions to discuss the ongoing operations and the future of their alliance. During the summit, Varen spoke passionately about the need for unity. "We are at a crossroads. Our choice is simple: cling to the past and face endless conflict, or embrace this opportunity for lasting peace." Keldor echoed these sentiments, but also acknowledged the challenges. "We must show that our strength lies not in our weapons, but in our ability to work together." Dr. Ramirez took the floor, presenting the progress made in safely repurposing the Eclipse drive technology for peaceful uses. "This technology can power our cities, heal our planets, and propel us to new heights, if we let it." The room was filled with a renewed sense of hope, but the undercurrents of dissent were still evident. As the summit concluded, the leaders agreed to continue their efforts with greater transparency and increased communication. Joint patrols and intelligence sharing initiatives were established to monitor and address any threats posed by rogue factions. Dr. Ramirez returned to her lab, feeling the weight of their collective responsibility. "We've taken significant steps," she reflected, "but we must remain vigilant. The path to peace is fraught with challenges." General Evans, ever the pragmatist, reassured her. "We're making progress, Elena, and we'll face whatever comes together." Their shared determination and the fragile but growing trust among their peoples provided a glimmer of hope. The Alliance had weathered its first major tests, but the journey toward lasting peace was only beginning. The unity forged in the early days of the Alliance was tested repeatedly as internal and external pressures mounted. On Earth, debates raged within the United Nations about the best course of action. Some leaders urged caution, while others called for immediate, decisive measures to dismantle the Dreadnoughts and secure a lasting peace. Dr. Elena Ramirez found herself caught in the political crossfire. Her scientific expertise made her a key figure in the discussions, but it also exposed her to intense scrutiny. "The technology behind the Eclipse drives is too dangerous," she argued in a high-level meeting. "We must ensure it can never be weaponized again." General Marcus Evans, seated beside her, nodded in agreement. "Dismantling the Dreadnoughts is not just a symbolic act. It's a necessary step to prevent further escalation." Ambassador Liu, ever the diplomat, sought a middle ground. "We need to balance our security needs with the desire for peace. A phased approach might be more palatable to all parties involved." The meeting adjourned with a tentative plan in place, a phased dismantling of the Dreadnoughts, coupled with increased diplomatic efforts to solidify the alliance. However, not everyone was convinced. In the shadows, dissenters plotted to disrupt these efforts, fearing the loss of their military advantage. As the first phase of dismantling began, tensions flared within the Zix Ari and Thalnar factions. Varen, the Zix Ari diplomat, faced growing unrest among his people. "They believe we are weakening ourselves," he confided to Dr. Ramirez during a private conversation. Many are not convinced that the humans and Thalnar can be trusted. Keldor, the Thalnar representative, echoed these concerns. Our warriors see this as a surrender. We must show them that our strength lies in unity, not in the size of our fleets. To address these fears, joint training exercises were organized. Soldiers from all three factions worked together, learning to trust and rely on each other. These exercises were fraught with challenges, but they also fostered camaraderie and mutual respect. During one particularly tense exercise, an unexpected threat emerged. A rogue Zix Ari faction, opposed to the Alliance, launched an attack on the training grounds. The Alliance soldiers, caught off guard, quickly rallied to defend themselves. Dr. Ramirez, who was observing the exercise, was thrust into the chaos. General Evans led the defense with precision and resolve. "Hold the line," he commanded, coordinating the combined forces. The attackers, though fierce, were outmatched by the coordinated response of the Alliance soldiers. After a brief but intense battle, the rogue faction was repelled. The incident served as a stark reminder of the fragile nature of their peace. In the aftermath, Varen addressed the Alliance. "This attack was meant to divide us. Instead, it has shown our strength. We must remain vigilant and united." Keldor added, "We have proven that together, we are stronger than any single faction. Let this be a lesson to those who would seek to undermine our efforts." The attack galvanized the Alliance, but it also underscored the need for continued vigilance. The phased dismantling of the Dreadnoughts proceeded, but with increased security measures in place. Dr. Ramirez and her team redoubled their efforts to develop safeguards against the misuse of dark energy technology. Back in her lab, Dr. Ramirez reflected on the day's events. The road to peace was fraught with peril, but each challenge only strengthened her resolve. "We must continue," she said to herself. "For the sake of all our worlds, we cannot afford to fail." General Evans, visiting the lab, placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We're making progress, Elena. It's slow, but we're moving in the right direction." She nodded, drawing strength from his confidence. The Alliance had faced its first major test and emerged stronger for it. But they knew that many more challenges lay ahead. As they looked toward the future, the leaders of Earth, Zix Ari and Thar, recommitted themselves to the cause of peace. The path was uncertain, but their shared determination provided a beacon of hope in the darkness. Together they would strive to build a new legacy, one where unity and cooperation triumphed over division and conflict. The successful neutralization of the Eclipse drives was a significant victory, but it left the galaxy on edge. Trust was in short supply, and the uneasy alliance between Earth, the Zix Ari, and the Thalnar hung by a thread. Diplomatic efforts intensified, with leaders from all factions working tirelessly to maintain a fragile peace. In New York, Dr. Elena Ramirez and her team shifted their focus to understanding the broader implications of dark energy technology. Their research, now backed by an interstellar coalition, aimed to repurpose the power source for peaceful applications. Despite the scientific progress, political tensions simmered. At a high-stakes diplomatic summit, Earth's representatives, including General Marcus Evans and Ambassador Liu, met with Zix Ari and Thar leaders. The conference room buzzed with cautious optimism. "We've made strides, but there are still elements within our societies resistant to change," Varen, the Zix Ari diplomat, began. "We must address their concerns head-on." Keldor, the Thalnar representative, agreed. "We propose a phased withdrawal of our military forces from contested regions, accompanied by increased transparency in our operations." General Evans, while supportive, raised a concern. "Phased withdrawal is a good step, but we need assurance that our mutual security will not be compromised." Ambassador Liu suggested, "To build trust, let's initiate joint military exercises and intelligence sharing programs. These actions will demonstrate our commitment to collective security." The proposal received unanimous approval, marking a rare moment of unity. However, beneath the surface, old grievances festered, threatening to derail the progress. In the weeks that followed, joint military exercises began. Soldiers from Earth, Zix Ari and Thar trained side by side, learning to rely on one another. The exercises were not without their challenges, cultural misunderstandings and deep-seated prejudices often led to tense moments. Yet, slowly but surely, bonds were formed. During one such exercise, a Thalnar officer named Jarek approached General Evans. "General, I have seen firsthand the benefits of our cooperation, but there are those among my people who believe we are compromising our strength for an uncertain peace." Evans nodded. "Change is difficult, especially when it challenges deeply held beliefs. But unity is our best chance for a lasting peace." Meanwhile, in the scientific community, Dr. Ramirez's team achieved a breakthrough. They developed a prototype energy generator that harnessed dark energy for clean, limitless power. The generator's unveiling was a momentous occasion, attended by leaders from all factions. "This technology symbolizes our potential to transform war's legacy into a force for good," Dr. Ramirez declared, her voice filled with hope. As the generator hummed to life, the room erupted in applause. The success of this project reinforced the belief that collaboration could yield remarkable benefits. However, not everyone was convinced. A faction within the Thalnar military, led by the dissident Relak, viewed the cooperation with Earth and the Zix Ari as a betrayal of their warrior heritage. Rylak's group began to sabotage efforts, targeting key infrastructure projects and attempting to undermine diplomatic initiatives. Their actions threatened to unravel the delicate peace that had been painstakingly built. In response, Earth's leaders, alongside Varen and Keldor, launched a covert operation to root out and neutralize the rogue elements. Dr. Ramirez, while not directly involved in the military operations, played a crucial role in securing the new energy technology against sabotage. Her work ensured that the generator, now a symbol of hope, remained safe from those who sought to destroy it. The Alliance's security forces, through a combination of intelligence and decisive action, managed to thwart several sabotage attempts, capturing key members of Rylak's faction. With the immediate threat contained, the Alliance leaders reconvened. "We've seen that our unity can withstand even the most determined efforts to tear us apart," Ambassador Liu stated, "but we must remain vigilant." Varen and Keldor pledged to continue their efforts to foster trust and cooperation within their societies. As the summit concluded, Dr. Ramirez looked out over the assembly, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. The journey toward lasting peace was far from over, but each step forward, each act of collaboration, brought them closer to a future where the shadows of war were finally dispelled. The Alliance had proven its resilience, and with continued effort, a new dawn of interstellar harmony was within reach. The decision to dismantle the Dreadnoughts sent ripples through the galaxy. Earth's leaders knew it was a gamble, but they also understood that symbols of war could not stand if peace were to have a chance. As the massive ships were decommissioned, factions across the Alliance held their breath, watching for the next move. In New York, Dr. Elena Ramirez continued her research on dark energy, working to understand and contain the power that had both advanced and threatened their civilizations. The lab buzzed with activity as scientists from Earth, Zix and Thalnar collaborated. Yet an underlying tension lingered, an unspoken fear that dismantling the Dreadnoughts was a mistake. Meanwhile, General Marcus Evans convened a high-level meeting at the United Nations. Ambassador Liu, Varen, and Keldor attended via hologram. "Our next step is crucial," Evans began. "We must ensure that the dismantling of these ships does not leave us vulnerable." Varen nodded. "Agreed. We need to enhance our planetary defenses and develop protocols for rapid response to any threats." Keldor added, "The Thalnar are committed to sharing our advanced sensor technology. This should help in early threat detection." Ambassador Liu leaned forward. "We also need to strengthen our diplomatic channels. If there are factions dissatisfied with peace, we must address their grievances and integrate them into our plans." As the meeting concluded, it was clear that the Alliance was committed to a multifaceted approach, one that balanced military readiness with diplomatic outreach. But beneath the surface, not everyone shared this vision of unity. In a hidden enclave on the outskirts of Thalnar's capital, a group of dissenters gathered. Their leader, a charismatic figure named Rylak, spoke with fervor. Our leaders have betrayed us, he declared. They have forsaken our strength for the illusion of peace. We must take matters into our own hands. Relax's followers, disillusioned by the recent changes, nodded in agreement. They had seen the Dreadnoughts as symbols of their power and security. The decision to dismantle them felt like a betrayal. Relax continued, "We have allies within the Zix Ari and even on Earth. We will not stand by as our strength is dismantled. We will act." Unaware of this brewing storm, Dr. Ramirez received an urgent message from Kethra, the Zephyrian engineer. "Elena, we have detected an unusual energy signature near the asteroid belt. It resembles the dark energy used in the Eclipse drives." Dr. Ramirez's heart sank. "We need to investigate immediately. If someone is trying to reactivate those drives, it could spell disaster." A task force was quickly assembled, including representatives from Earth, Zix Ari and Thar. As they approached the source of the energy signature, the tension was palpable. The asteroid belt, with its hidden dangers and strategic importance, was the perfect place for a covert operation. "Energy readings are spiking," Kethra reported. "This is definitely related to dark energy, but it's being manipulated." The task force's ship maneuvered carefully among the asteroids until they spotted a small cloaked vessel. Its presence confirmed their worst fears. Someone was trying to harness the power of the Eclipse drives for their own ends. The ship's communication channel crackled to life. "You should not have come," a voice warned. "The peace you seek is a lie. We will reclaim our destiny." General Evans, recognizing the voice as Relax, responded firmly, "We are here to ensure the safety of all. Stand down and surrender." Relax's ship fired a warning shot, narrowly missing the task force's vessel. The confrontation was inevitable. As the battle commenced, Dr. Ramirez and her team worked frantically to disable the rogue Eclipse drive. With precision and teamwork, they managed to neutralize its core, preventing a catastrophic release of dark energy. Relax's ship, damaged and outmaneuvered, retreated into the asteroid belt. Back on Earth, the Alliance leaders reconvened. The incident had revealed the depth of the descent and the dangers they still faced. Ambassador Liu addressed the assembly. "We have seen that peace is not just the absence of war. It is the active pursuit of understanding and cooperation. We must continue to root out these threats and build a future together." Varan and Keldor pledged to intensify their efforts to identify and neutralize rogue elements within their societies. General Evans emphasized the need for ongoing vigilance and preparedness. Dr. Ramirez, exhausted but resolute, spoke last. "Our work is far from over, but today we have shown that unity and determination can overcome even the darkest challenges." The Alliance had weathered another storm, but the echoes of war still lingered. As they moved forward, their resolve to build a lasting peace was stronger than ever, knowing that true unity required constant effort and unwavering commitment. Months passed since the dismantling of the Dreadnoughts and the initiation of the phased withdrawal. Progress, while slow, was undeniable. The Zix Ari and Thar, under the careful watch of Earth's task force, were gradually reducing their military presence in the solar system. Yet, beneath the surface of this fragile peace, old wounds festered. Dr. Elena Ramirez continued her dual role as both a scientist and a diplomat. The research on dark energy, spurred by the remnants of the Eclipse drives, was yielding promising results. However, the political landscape remained volatile. Trust, once broken, was not easily mended. In a secured facility on Earth, Dr. Ramirez met with General Marcus Evans and Ambassador Liu. They reviewed the latest reports from the Zephyrians, who had been instrumental in the Eclipse drive's deactivation. "The phased withdrawal is proceeding, but we've detected unusual energy signatures near the asteroid belt," Dr. Ramirez said, her brow furrowed. "It could be remnants of the dismantled drives, but we can't be sure." General Evans nodded. "We need to investigate. Any anomalies could jeopardize the fragile peace." Ambassador Liu agreed. "I'll arrange for a diplomatic envoy to accompany the investigation. We need transparency to maintain trust." A task force, comprising Earth's scientists and military personnel, along with representatives from the Zix Ari and Thar, was dispatched to the asteroid belt. As their ship approached the source of the energy signatures, the team remained on high alert. The asteroid belt, a vast expanse of rock and debris, provided ample hiding places for potential threats. The tension was palpable, each member of the team acutely aware of the delicate balance they were trying to maintain. "Energy readings are spiking," Kethra, the Zephyrian engineer, reported. "It's definitely residual dark energy, but there's something unusual about it." Dr. Ramirez peered over her shoulder. "Can we get a visual?" The ship's cameras zoomed in, revealing a cluster of asteroids with a faint, eerie glow. Among them, an intact Eclipse drive floated, its core pulsating with dark energy. It had been tampered with, its systems partially reactivated. "This is not good," General Evans muttered. "Who could have done this?" A small cloaked vessel emerged from behind the asteroids, its weapons trained on the task force's ship. The communication channel crackled to life, and a familiar voice filled the cabin. "Greetings, humans and allies," said Varen, the Zix Ari diplomat. "I regret to inform you that there are factions within the Zix Ari and Thar who do not wish for peace. They see your weakness as an opportunity." Keldor's voice joined in, his tone equally grim. "We have suspected internal dissent, but this confirms it. Elements within our societies are attempting to rekindle the conflict." Dr. Ramirez, maintaining her composure, responded, "We need to neutralize this Eclipse drive immediately. Can we work together to disable it?" Varen and Keldor agreed, and a joint operation was swiftly organized. Earth's scientists, guided by Kethra, worked alongside Zix Ari and Thar engineers to approach the rogue Eclipse drive. The task was fraught with danger. Any misstep could trigger a catastrophic release of dark energy. Under the combined efforts of the diverse team, the Eclipse drive was safely deactivated. The rogue vessel, its purpose thwarted, retreated into the asteroid belt, its cloaking device re-engaged. Despite their success, the incident left a lingering sense of unease. Back on Earth, the diplomatic fallout was immediate. Ambassador Liu called an emergency session at the United Nations to address the implications of the rogue faction's actions. Representatives from the Zix Ari and Thar attended via hologram, their faces etched with concern. "This incident proves that not all within our societies support the peace," Varen admitted. "We must root out these elements and ensure they do not sabotage our efforts." Keldor agreed. "We will intensify our internal security measures, but we need your continued cooperation to maintain the fragile peace." Dr. Ramirez spoke up, her voice carrying the weight of their collective responsibility. "We have come too far to let old animosities destroy our progress. We must remain united in our pursuit of peace." The session concluded with renewed commitments to vigilance and cooperation. The shadow of internal dissent loomed large, but the bonds forged through shared adversity held strong. Earth's leaders, scientists, and military personnel knew that their work was far from over. As the task force returned to Earth, Dr. Ramirez reflected on the precarious balance they had achieved. The future remained uncertain, but with each challenge overcome, the hope for a lasting peace grew stronger. The echoes of war still whispered in the void, but together they could build a new legacy, one of unity, resilience, and hope. The crisis with the rogue Eclipse drive and the revelation of dissenting factions within the Zix Ari and Thar societies marked a turning point. Earth's leaders, scientists, and diplomats worked tirelessly to strengthen the fragile alliances. Dr. Elena Ramirez and her team continued their research, now focusing on ensuring that the dark energy technology could never again be used as a weapon. At the United Nations headquarters, a special council meeting was convened. Representatives from the Zix Ari, Thar, and Zephyrians attended, either in person or via hologram, their faces reflecting a mix of determination and hope. "We must address the internal threats within our societies," Varen stated. "Our factions must understand that peace is not just a treaty, but a commitment to a shared future." Keldor agreed. "We will increase our internal security and work to identify and neutralize these rogue elements. But we must also foster a culture of cooperation and mutual respect." General Marcus Evans proposed joint training exercises and shared intelligence to build trust and enhance collective security. "Our goal is to prevent any future threats from destabilizing the peace," he stated. Ambassador Liu added, "We must also invest in cultural exchange programs, allowing our peoples to learn from each other and build bonds beyond politics and military alliances." These proposals were met with agreement, and plans were set in motion for a series of joint initiatives. The first of these initiatives was a collaborative research project on sustainable energy sources, leveraging the insights gained from the Eclipse drive's technology, but repurposed for peaceful applications. Dr. Ramirez and her team worked closely with scientists from the Zix Ari and Thar, as well as the Zephyrians, to develop new energy solutions. Their efforts culminated in the creation of a prototype reactor that harnessed dark energy safely and efficiently, providing a limitless source of clean power. At a grand ceremony, the new reactor was unveiled, and leaders from all factions gathered to celebrate the achievement. The atmosphere was one of cautious optimism, a tangible sense of unity that transcended their turbulent history. Dr. Ramirez stood beside General Evans and Ambassador Liu, watching as the reactor hummed to life. "This is more than just a technological breakthrough," she said. "It's a symbol of what we can achieve when we work together." The ceremony concluded with speeches from Varen, Keldor, and Earth's leaders, each emphasizing the importance of continued cooperation and the shared vision of a peaceful future. The crowd, composed of representatives and citizens from all three factions, erupted in applause. In the following months, the joint initiatives expanded. Cultural exchange programs flourished, with students and professionals traveling between Earth, Zixar, and Thar, sharing knowledge and forging friendships. Despite the progress, challenges remained. Isolated incidents of dissent and sabotage still occurred, but they were swiftly addressed by the unified security forces. The rogue elements, though persistent, grew weaker as the majority embraced the new era of cooperation. Dr. Ramirez continued her work, now focusing on long-term sustainability and the ethical implications of advanced technology. She became a key figure in the newly formed Intergalactic Council for Peace and Progress, a body dedicated to maintaining and nurturing the alliances. One evening, as she looked out over the bustling streets of New York City, Dr. Ramirez reflected on the journey they had undertaken. The stars above, once symbols of fear and conflict, now represented hope and potential. The echoes of war had not been silenced, but they had been drowned out by the voices of those committed to peace. General Evans joined her, his presence a comforting reminder of their shared mission. "We've done well, Elena," he said, "but we must never forget the lessons we've learned." She nodded, her gaze fixed on the horizon. "The future is ours to shape, Marcus, and I believe we're on the right path." As they stood together, the lights of the city blending with the stars above, a sense of calm settled over them. The alliances they had forged, though still young and fragile, held the promise of a new dawn, a future where the horrors of the past were replaced by the hope of a brighter tomorrow. With renewed determination, they returned to their work, knowing that the journey toward lasting peace was ongoing. The challenges they faced were great, but so too was their resolve. And in that moment, as the stars shone brightly in the night sky, they knew that they were no longer just fighting to prevent war. They were building a future where unity and cooperation would prevail. The new dawn had begun, and with it, the promise of a peaceful and prosperous galaxy for all.